What's up everyone, welcome back to what might be a brand new series on the channel. I've never really done commentary videos before, but I thought I would give it a shot because I'm in this kind of dev cycle of making a Paper Mario style game, kind of Paper Mario Bug Fables, and I've been doing a lot of dev work on buildings and how I want them to look and stuff like that. And rather than just showing you the footage of, the building being made, I thought I would talk over it and tell you why I make these design choices and what I'm thinking. So this actually might be like the third video in this series. I'm recording and editing this one as like a practice go. As I said, I've never done commentary before, but I'm going to try and go back to the gameplay in a second. Just explaining that if it seems weird that I'm telling you about the fact that I'm doing commentary in this one and not the others, even though the others come out first, that's why. Right, so let's talk about the actual buildings. So the town is called HookTown, that's what we're making the assets for. The primary people that live there are fish, most notably Koi, who is from our Red and the Phantom Castle and Red and the Cursed Isles games. He's one of Red's closest friends. The game is basically the story of how they meet, and I'm making basically the town where he actually comes from. Now, when deciding on what I wanted for the buildings, how I wanted the buildings to look, I decided that it would be cool if everything was sort of fish themed. You know, in the paper style games, everything's always like themed to what the people who live there are like. So for instance, toads live in toad houses, Koopas live in shells, that sort of thing. Well, I thought it would be interesting and not necessarily too on the nose if we kind of did that for them, but it also had to fit in with the world that was around them, because even though everything is paper, it's an aesthetic, it's not actually the way they are. So the game's actually of, being told as if they are real people, but they look like paper. Now here you'll actually see the shop next to the house that we're designing is actually called Hooks. It's a fishbowl. Sorry, my voice went weird there. It's a fishbowl shop. I thought that would be quite funny since we weren't doing fish bowls for the houses. I thought the shop would be funny if it was a fishbowl. Right now we're just doing the window for the houses, basically just try to get that like sheen going down of it, and basically we're making the idea for the house is that it's sort of like the interior of a fishbowl. So you'll notice there's kind of some scales on the side, and then we've got some seaweed on the top, or kind of underwater flower aesthetics. I don't know what it's called, fauna, I don't know. Okay, so now we're just kind of doing the outer rim of the house, just trying to make the exterior of the house look as interesting as possible. I decided that I really didn't want to do just like one wee set of fish scales. I wanted like them kind of to be dotted over the front of the house. And I think at this point as well, I really hate the seaweed on top of the house. We end up like going into detail, which you'll see later on in the video, that the seaweed gets changed and stuff, and I'm kind of deepening the scales on front of the house so it doesn't look too blended in, just trying to make it as interesting as possible. What are we doing here? Rocks. Yes, so obviously if you look at the base of a like a fishbowl, you'll see that there's like wee kind of fake rocks where like the seaweed kind of pops out from. That's what we're kind of working on here, just doing a wee kind of rock design, but still keeping it like in the cardboard aesthetic as well. So usually I'll try and combine 3D elements with 2D elements just to kind of keep it interesting, and I'm just checking out the kind of rock style here among the seaweed. Okay, so with the rocks out the way, basically we started doing new variations of seaweed. If you look at the stuff in the back, it looks a bit boring. It's, kind of straight up into the air. And I decided to just look up pictures of seaweed, which was like the best reference because it showed me like, you know, the kind of wavy style that it's got on. So I decided to upgrade our seaweed and kind of make it a bit more realistic, but you'll see that we still keep it 2D once we kind of flatten it out. So there we go, we've flattened it out, and then we just start like painting the pattern onto it to make it a bit more interesting. My goal is always, if I can have the most simplistic object but make it detailed, make the like surface of it detailed, then that's probably the best way to go, because it always fits in with the art style. And having a consistent art style going through the full thing is probably the most important. Nothing takes you out of an experience more than when you realise that something is just out of place, because you start wondering, like, was that a mistake? Was that on purpose? And then instead of just enjoying the surroundings and the settings, you start, like, you know, questioning it, and that's not really something that I want you to do. Don't question the stuff. Anyway. So here we've got a wee bit of the paint settled in. We've done some of the darker indents so that it kind of looks like even though it's 2D, it kind of looks like it's wrapping around itself, giving it a kind of 3D feel. And I'm just trying to make each section feel a bit more different than the last. I think we do end up giving it a background, and we do end up deleting the seaweed that's already on top of the house, because it looks garbage. It's so boring. And I'm pretty sure I start making like just different variations of seaweed, just so that it all kind of mixes and matches differently. And yeah, here you see I'm trying to like put the seaweed in with the other seaweed, and I'm just like, this looks horrible, I'm going to delete it. And that's, to be honest, that happens quite a lot. Never be afraid when you're making something to kind of go back on yourself, especially if you're not happy with it. Because I guarantee you, if you sit there and just let something that you're not happy with stay inside your creation that you've made, you're always going to look at it as if, I hate that, why didn't I just get rid of it? And so I take that to heart, basically, where if I don't like something, no matter how long it took me, I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to try it differently and do something different with it. And here I'm just making 2 new shapes of seaweed instead of straight up like I did before. I just realised they're actually quite similar. God damn it, did I change that? No, that's staying. Wow, they're basically the same shape. Oh well, you know, sometimes in life when you make the same shape, it's all right, because you can flip it and you can change it, so it's fine. Don't quote this. Don't show your friends. Actually, do show your friends, but don't. I'm really not that used to commentating. But yeah, this is me just making some seaweed. I'm going to shut up for a second and let you watch the seaweed making process, and then I'll be back when something else more interesting happens. But you stay here, you keep watching. I'll be back when it's a bit more interesting. Okay, now it's the funnest part of the job, actually putting things together to make it look interesting. So basically I'm just rearranging the seaweed to make it look as natural as possible, and you're about to see basically an after shot of, I basically took the first house and recoloured it, so that, yeah, there you go. So now you can see that's how the house looks. They've both got different windows on them. They're both a wee bit different. They've got different variations of seaweed on the top. They're not the exact same up there either, just to make it look a wee bit different more. I have actually made a couple of other different houses, but you'll see that in another video. That's fine. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I'll just show you Red running in. The houses do fold down like every other paper game, so if you were wondering that, there you go. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And please don't hate too much on my commentating.